Have you ever been at a concert or a protest or even just gotten sucked into an online argument and felt, well, different? Like you weren't quite yourself? Back in 1895, a guy named Gustave Le Bon wrote the definitive and, frankly, pretty terrifying playbook on how exactly that happens. So today, we're going to break down his classic work on social psychology, The Crowd. Of course you do, right? You think you make your own choices, you hold your own beliefs, and you're guided by solid logic. But Le Bon, he'd say that's only true when you're by yourself. The moment you join a crowd, a whole different set of rules kicks in.
And there it is. Le Bon does not pull any punches. His whole argument is that it doesn't matter how brilliant or educated the people in a group are. Once they come together, the collective is, well, intellectually a downgrade. So how does this crazy transformation even happen?
Okay, so this gets us to the absolute core of his idea. He argued that a crowd isn't just a bunch of people standing around. No, it's something else entirely. It's the birth of a new psychological being. He called it the collective mind, and it's this weird, temporary creature made up of all the individuals that thinks and feels and acts in ways that are totally different from how any of its members would on their own. The whole process is, well, it's kind of creepy, but also fascinating. It all starts with just a collection of people, right? They're drawn together by some event or some idea. But then, if the conditions are right, something just clicks. They start to fuse. They stop being a bunch of separate yous and me's and become a single us. And this right here, this is the most important part. Your personality, the thing that makes you you, your critical thinking, your sense of right and wrong, it all just sort of evaporates. So what rushes in to fill that empty space? The unconscious. All that primal, raw, emotional stuff that we usually keep under wraps. According to Le Bon, the crowd runs purely on impulse. Reason has left the building. Le Bon's word for this was fascination. He literally compared it to being hypnotized. You're not in the driver's seat anymore. You're just a cell in a larger organism, totally suggestible and willing to sacrifice your own interests for the group. It's a complete shutdown of your conscious control. So, if your conscious, rational mind is offline, what exactly are we left with? Well, this leads us to what might be Le Bon's most controversial and, let's be honest, insulting claim about crowds. I mean, just look at the contrast here. On your own, you can reason. In a crowd, nope, you're ruled by emotion. As an individual, you can be skeptical. As part of a crowd, you become incredibly suggestible. You'll believe almost anything. It's like your unique, complex mind gets squashed down to the lowest common denominator. And Le Bon really hammers this point home with this absolutely brutal line. He says it doesn't matter if you gather a room full of brilliant scientists and artists. The second they form a crowd, their collective decision-making ability drops to the level of, and I'm quoting him here, a gathering of imbeciles. Ouch. That's a pretty humbling thought, isn't it? So the bottom line is this. You absolutely cannot reason with a crowd. Le Bon is crystal clear that logic is like a foreign language to the collective mind. It thinks in powerful images and raw feelings, not in careful arguments. Trying to persuade it with facts and figures is pretty much a complete waste of time. So if logic is useless, how in the world do you lead a crowd? Or manipulate one? Well, this is where Le Bon's work gets really practical. And, frankly, a little dark. He lays out a disturbingly effective playbook. And it all boils down to 3 simple, incredibly powerful tools that any leader or manipulator needs to master: affirmation, repetition, and contagion. First up, affirmation. Now, this is not a detailed, nuanced argument. It's a short, punchy, confident statement. Think of a powerful slogan. And here's the crazy part. According to Le Bon, the less reasoning or proof it has, the more authority it has with a crowd. But just saying something once isn't going to cut it. It needs the second tool, which might just be the most powerful of them all. Le Bon even quotes Napoleon, a guy who knew a thing or two about influencing people, who said the only rhetorical device that really matters is repetition. Le Bon's point is that if you just repeat an idea over and over and over again, it eventually bypasses our critical thinking and lodges itself deep in our unconscious as an accepted truth. I mean, his example of chocolate advertising from 1895 is shockingly modern. We hear something enough times, and we just start to believe it's true. And finally, you have contagion. So once an idea has been planted using affirmation and repetition, it starts to spread. And it spreads like a virus. Emotions, ideas, actions, they become intensely infectious inside the group. This is the force that can trigger anything from a sudden panic in a fire to incredible acts of heroism. That impulse to imitate what everyone else is doing becomes so powerful that it can completely override your most basic instinct for self-preservation. Now, you have to remember, Le Bon wrote all of this over 100 years ago, long before social media, before the 24-hour news cycle, before viral marketing. And yet, these principles of affirmation, repetition, and contagion have never felt more relevant, have they? Which really just leaves us with one last unsettling question to think about. The next time you feel that powerful pull of a group, whether it's online or in the real world, just take a second. Ask yourself, is this my thought? Is this my feeling? Or have I just been hypnotized by the collective mind?